Let's design a custom ship for Highfleet. The concept I have in mind is a really slim and a really tall ship. So let's get started. At the beginning, you just start with the bridge, which is over here, which is already sitting on top on a piece of hull, but you can't remove it. Okay, now the first thing you want to do is you go over here, and you can select between two hull types: the regular hull, the yellow one, and the reinforced one. The reinforced is heavier and more expensive, so I'm going to use the yellow one. It's a 4x4 piece, a large block. Also, do not right-click in those menus, because in the current version of the game, it might crash the game. Now you can see the yellow, the green area shows you where you can attach the current piece. There's currently no way to copy it that I know of, so I have to manually click for each piece. The layout will be slightly asymmetrical because of the bridge. The ship itself will be symmetrical, it's just that the bridge won't be in the center of the ship. Second layer over here. It's a basic frame I have in mind. I know it looks somewhat weird from the outline, but that's not intended. Okay. I'm going to make certain mistakes on the way. Some on purpose, so you can see the different trade-offs you have to make when you design a ship. Because the first instinct for most players might be you just make a block or a spherical object and put as much armor as you can on it, and all the guns and all the defense system and all the radars. However, then you'll end up with a large block that can barely move. So we need to decide at this part of the ship creating process what the purpose of the ship is going to be. You have to specialize. So for me, it's going to have a lot of 37mm guns. That's the smallest machine cannons. And it should be relatively well armored, which means it won't be too maneuverable. So the first thing I'm going to decide is where to put the guns. Okay, I'm going to take those small ones. Two in the turret, here, in the top rather. Here. Now, two of those is already good firepower for combat. Well, if you really want to have good protection against missiles, or even cruise missiles in real-time combat, getting 3 or 4 of those is a really good choice to make. And we're going to put the next one here. And one over here. I'm going to save it in case something crashes. I'm going to call it stick. And save. Now, let's start with putting propulsion on the ship. There's options here. The D30. That's a regular engine that can vector, which means it can align the thruster into different directions. This is, I think, a larger vectoring thruster. This is a static thruster. Maneuvering thruster for large ships. And I think it's a non-vectoring thruster for heavy ships. I'm going to use mostly a mix of those two. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is going to try static thrusts. Some over here. Good amount of base thrust over here, and I'm going to put 2 maneuvering thrusters. The edge over here. Okay, now we need to add some power so the thing can function, and we need fuel tanks, obviously. Fuel tanks. Oh, there you go. Those are the large blocking ones. Put over here. I can't. Needs a larger hull. hull piece. So I'm going to use the smaller ones over here. Since it's a slightly asymmetrical design, I'm going to put the fuel tanks in the bottom of the ship. Here. You can watch over here the range of the ship. And the thrust to weight ratio, the speed, how much fuel it needs to pull itself around. And now we need power generators. One over here. And one over here. As you can see, the thrust to weight ratio is going down. The ship is getting heavier. And on the ship we need ammo pods. I'm not sure how many are needed for all four of those. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make mistakes as I go to explore the different choices you can make. I'm going to put it slightly asymmetrical. The ammo needed 4, ammo placed 4. Now we have a basic ship that should be able to maneuver. So I'm going to test it in-game. Save it. You have to scroll down, click on the stick again, and save. We'll do a first flight test. We go to test. I'm going to put difficulty to 1 and turn that off. I should be alone in the match and see if I can fly around. Oh, it automatically ends the mission if there's an enemy. Okay, then we try difficulty 1 and a small ship. I have no armor, nothing, so I should avoid getting hit. Let's see if the thing is maneuverable. Right, good forward thrust, sideward thrust. It's getting a bit unstable, but as you go left, right, it stabilizes itself a bit. Oh, it's not good. It's mostly because the armor's missing. Okay, back to the editor. Now let's try putting some armor on it. The maneuvering issues, the instability, I think it wasn't too bad because it stabilizes itself if you take the opposite direction. So let's start putting armor on. Now this is where it gets interesting. First thing I want to do is take a large armor piece. You can rotate it with the mouse wheel. It's on the top. Now pay attention to the speed and thrust weight ratio. What happens if you start stacking armor on the ship? Already going down. I already cut our thrust to weight ratio in half basically with just those armor pieces. Keep going. So as I mentioned earlier, I didn't have this pre-built or something. That's an idea I had, and I'm basically building it live without making edits so it looks better or performs better. Because I want to make all the mistakes so you can see the trade-offs. This side. Okay, now we need the corner pieces still. Yeah. Let's save this one. Manually select the right ship if you save it. I'm going to do the landing gear later because if you want to test the landing gear, you have to start a new campaign, buy the ship, and then do a landing maneuver because currently there's no way to test the landing gear in the combat situation. So what we did right now is we armor the entire stick area of the ship. And you can see if you mouse over, if you place guns behind armor directly, they can still shoot over it, but they're protected by it. Well, now let's see how that thing performs. 1. Medium ship is an enemy, and let's go. And maneuverability is not ideal, but it can still. Let's see if I can dodge something with it. See the first hit I took? See the first hit? It went in here, the armor blocked it completely. However, this area is unprotected, took a hit, and now I got a burning piece over here, and my engine will be gone soon if we don't have fire suppression systems. So what we learn from this situation is you need fire suppression systems, and you need to make the consideration whether this piece over here, whether you should put extra armor on it, how much you should put on it, or maybe you should adapt your flying style to keep this area less exposed to enemy fire. So let's try that. Here, let's put some... the attack direction came from this side, because the way I play the game, I mostly attack from the sides. Put an armor slab over here. And one on the other side. Now the question is, which is a really good question, is this enough to put just an armor piece here? Should this top piece be protected too or not? It's kind of probability game, depending. If the shot comes in from here, it's going to smack your internal components. If it comes in from here too, but if it comes from a flatter angle, it gets in over here. So now I'm going to compromise a bit. I'm going to not put an armor piece here. I'm going to put a corner piece over here. Bit of protection. See, if it comes over here, it still gets blocked. Right. And I'll do the same for the bottom piece. That's the wrong one. I mean, technically it's still working, it's just the aesthetics of it. Perhaps an armor slab over here would be nice to have. I'm going to put that on. Yeah, this looks good as long as I don't take a hit from here or from here. It looks actually quite good. Also, we need fire suppression systems. Emergency system, suppression, emergency pods. I think they're good for morale, and if you actually want to save the crew if the ship explodes. I'm not going to put on right now. I'm going to put... Also, it says crew is 60. And if you have less crew, I think the reloading mechanisms work slow on the ship. So let's add some crew quarters. This big quarters are like this. See if I can do with small ones. Now I have enough crew. Okay. Let's test this one again and see what we can do. Hold on. Stick. Also, I mentioned earlier that the thrust to weight ratio is really bad. This Sevastopol is a thrust to weight ratio 1.0, and I think the ship size is slightly smaller than the Sevastopol. Like the big fat ones have about 2, so we should really seriously upgrade the engines in this one. Now we don't have any room for that. Now what should we do? Now one trade-off is we could remove the guns and add some maneuvering thrusters to help maneuvering. Or we could widen the base of the ship over here. Or we can just see if it can survive on its own like this. So let's try that. Medium target. Let's see if I can win the fight with this one. Don't have any missile protection except guns. Let's see. I'm going to take one hit, see what the armor can do. Clean hit, nothing happened. Again, looking good. And I got 4 guns as a close-in protection system.
The OTs are on fire.
Oh, took a hit from the side. I need to get away with this. Yeah, if you start shooting in that direction, it's tilt. Tilt. I just have to tilt.
Engine lost.
Oh,
Fuel system is on fire.
yeah, I'm out of fire suppressant. Okay, this is not looking good.
The fuel system is burning. Abandoned ship.
Yeah, 1 critical hit took out the ship to the unprotected areas. Now the question is, can I fix that by flying more carefully, or should I put some extra armor on it? I think the top needs some armor. I think, yeah, that makes sense. Also, maybe add some extra thrusters. I'm not sure, because I want to keep that stick form. It's kind of the form factor you want to consider. That's again the trade-off situation. How much are you willing to compromise on the original concept to get to improve something on the ship? So that extra piece of armor, I think, is required, because one good hit and it tears off the engine. Also, I need to put some more fire suppressant there. Also, I had only one fire suppressant button. I'm not sure if there was one fire, or it was two fires, or whether that hit took out the fire suppression system itself. So I'm going to put one extra one over here. Could expand the ship over here and add an extra thruster into it. Or it wouldn't help with maneuvering thrust. Or I could broaden the base over here to give it more thrust. I think I'm going to broaden the base. Okay. Thruster still working? Yeah, it appears so. I could add maneuvering thrusters. They don't give much thrust as the fixed engines, but they make the ship turn easier. Or I can give it a fixed thruster and get a lot more up-down thrust than I need it. I'm just going to take thrusters. Also notice that the game actually automatically symmetrizes them in the layout if you click on that. Okay, now I got a good thrust upgrade. Speed is, yeah, it's not that bad. The travel speed on the map is, that's the travel speed. The Sevastopol is about 94 to 100. The Gepard and smaller ships are like 200-300. So it looks like it keeps its purpose. Firepower is good. Let's save this one and see what happens. And let's test against the mid target. Difficulty 1. Go. Thrust, looking nice. Tilting, yeah, tilting is a bit heavy. Did some good damage on this one. I'm trying to avoid getting shot from the bottom or from below. Oh, that was a miss. Yeah, I gotta get out of here. Shit. No. Tilt it. Yeah, looking solid. Not a single critical hit yet. Oh. Took a hit. That's looking good. Okay, that was one fire. Doesn't look too bad right now. Tilt, come on, tilt it. Oh, that's not good.
Fuel system is on fire.
We have this. Oh, no. Ships are resilient. Almost got him. Okay, now what do we learn from this situation? The ship is vulnerable from the bottom. However, from the side, from the top, it's almost impenetrable from those, was it 100mm, 57mm guns? You see the armor has some dents over here, but nothing went through. And had enough fire suppressions to take out 3 critical hits. So I would say this is a successful design for what it's supposed to be. Be well armored, get close to the enemy, and fire 4 machine guns at them. Okay, now for the last part, which is complicated and also rather fun, which is to get the landing gear to work. Okay, the first thing you need to do is you need to get one of those basic joint parts. That's a really large one. And then you get this one, it's a smaller one. And this one. Now as you see, nothing is green over here. No matter how I scroll it, nothing is green. Which means we need to create some space for the landing gear to attach. Let's try with the regular hull piece. This we need a 4x4 block. Sure if the thruster, yeah, it should work, it's still working. Oh, I'm making the ship longer and I don't want to do that. See if I can find a trade-off for that in some way. What should I do? I could make the ship wider over here by moving that section over here and put the landing gear in here. Or I could put it, make this part longer and put it in here, but then it's getting a bit too long. I'm going to, I mean, I could try it. Yeah, I'll do that. The armor pieces like this. Here. Here, and now let's put the landing gear together. I'm going to do the basic version first like this. And you can rotate this any way you want. Yeah. Put the armor back on. Okay, now we've noticed an interesting problem. I elongated the ship here, which means I exposed a larger hole here, which I can stuff it with armor. However, I think it should work like this normally too. Oh, I just noticed the landing gear needs a bit longer because it's going to compress a bit. Now here's the tricky part about if you build them straight, it's going to hit down straight and you get no compression and no spring, which might break the ship. So you got to put some amount of spring into it by angling it. This. And let's go like this. But the game is actually smart enough to figure out what you're trying to do. As you can see here, that little, you can see it, that little pneumatic spring thingy got added as I placed it. Okay, is that a working landing gear? Is it even symmetric? I think it should be. Yeah, it should be. I'm going to save this one. I'm going to head back to the campaign, start a new campaign, buy the ship and land it in the starting location. Now I'm in the campaign start, selection of the initial ships that you can get. And you can see the stick is over here. And the game automatically detects as an air superiority ship because of the attributes it has. It has 2 offensive ones, 2 shields, and time I guess is speed or something. I can see thrust to weight ratio, it says 4. Speed 230, range 330. Let's compare that to other ships. And the range appears to be really bad, so on a strategic map, that's going to be a disadvantage. See, most other ships, they probably have bigger reserve fuel tanks than my ship. And press OK. Okay, now we are going to prepare the landing. The thrust to weight ratio is actually 2.6. The thing that was shown on the selection screen showed 4. I have no idea why that is. Also, the ship has some deficiencies. It has no evac pods, and it doesn't have enough power. It only has 98%. It should have 100. So let's see how the landing works. And this is the one I'm going to record for the video. If it fails, it fails.
Fire reverse thrusters.
Yeah, looking good. Landing gears coming out. Oh, it's unstable. Come on, come on, come on. Let's do this.
500 meters.
Oh, it's really unstable if you try to trust it.
300 meters.
Oh, it's not stable. Come on, come on, come on. Get some thrust, come on, come on.
Touchdown confirmed.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Zero damage received.
Okay, that's a flaw on the ship. Let's try another one. We try. It's really hard to stabilize it because I think all the maneuvering thrusters are in the base of the ship.
Fire reverse thrusters.
Come on, come on.
500 meters.
Give me thrust, baby. Come on, come on, come on, come on. No.
100 meters.
Don't.
Throwing it ready. Touchdown confirmed. Structural damage received.
Okay, I guess we have to go back to the construction screen and fix that. Main menu. Should work. Here we go. Okay, so the problem was all the thrusters are in the bottom of the ship, and if I'm trying to change orientation or just scoot to the left or right, it causes rotational instability. So what could I do? Landing gear. Put the fuel tanks on. I could have swapped the fuel tanks, put them up here. Put the ammo into over here. I'll try that first, see if that works. I'm going to move the ammo boxes over here. If the ammo boxes can still reach the upper areas. Oh, they can, that's good. Oh, they don't have room to be put in here. I think the guns are blocking it. Let's try this one. Let's put the guns over here altogether. Appears to work. And able to rotate outside of this area. Because there's some depth to it, as you can notice if, for example, these two parts, they're sticking out towards the player. Okay, I think this is looking more maneuverable. Let's try that. The stick. Now, if you want to test the landing gear again, you have to restart a new game, because the ship, if you bought it in the campaign, it's already modified with the old blueprint. You have to restart the whole campaign to do it.
Fire reverse thrusters.
Yeah, looks a bit better with the rotational stability. Cushion the floor,
500 meters.
side of it.
300 meters.
Come on.
Throwing it ready.
Come on.
Touchdown confirmed.
And you can see the landing gear actually bent properly. And it took some damage on landing. Well, I would call it a successful design. Yeah, I'm happy with the ship. I got the 4x firepower over here. It's well armored with some weak points. On this strategic map, it's probably going to be a drag on the fuel, which other ships have to compensate for. And landing is somewhat challenging. I think I'm going to make a video after that to modify this ship into a different purpose. However, for this video, I think this was all. And as always, thanks for watching.